Tonight on News 5 Live, a third attempt is made on the life of 24-year-old Justin Stephen. While he survived the shooting, Stephen's injuries have allegedly left him blind and disabled. There is a reported shootout at the Dangriga Pier, and police need your help in identifying a John Doe whose body was found in the Haulover Creek. Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin and other members of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission are defendants in a claim brought by the Bar Association. Belize Telemedia Limited reports a gross revenue of $165 million, but net revenue is down by 24% to $17 million. For the first time, the BDF wins the Best Warrior competition after 3 days of intense challenges. And it's taco time this weekend, and the fest is taking place in Orange Walk. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Smart customers, this is your chance to win big with Smart and Quartz Mega Raffle 2019. Starting November 6th through December 23rd,
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, November 22nd. I am Charlie Hutchinson. A Belize City man was shot and seriously injured on Thursday evening. Police say that security guard Justin Stevens was standing on New Road when someone shot him twice. Stevens was taken to the hospital and remains there in a critical condition. A family member told News 5 that he has a long road to recovery because an early prognosis is that the shots have taken his eyesight and his ability to walk. This is not the first attempt on Stevens' life. He was shot twice before, the first time he was only 16 years old. Reporter Andrea Polanco has more.
Of the car wash on New Road in Belize City on Thursday evening just after 6 when a man exited a nearby alley and fired several shots at him. One of those shots hit Stevens in the left eye and exited through his right eye. Another shot caught him in his back. This happened a short distance away from the Queen Street police station, and police say that so far no one has been detained. While Stevens is expected to survive this shooting, a source close to him says that his life will not be the same and he has a long road to recovery. This is the third time someone has made an attempt on Stevens' life. The first attack happened in September 2011 when he was just 16 years old. Stevens was shot in the head while he was riding his bike on Freetown Road. He had to do multiple surgeries to recover from that incident. About a month after the shooting, he spoke with News 5. He didn't remember what had happened the day he was shot.
Right now, I can't remember anything right now, Carl. Right now I feel bad right now. Right now I got surgery right now again to my head. After that I don't know what I want to do, so I can't say if I can go do something or when I don't do nothing. I really can't say nothing about that.
2 men were charged for shooting Stevens. He told us back in 2011 that he liked where he lived. He described his neighborhood as a nice and good place for a while. He didn't expect that he would be caught up in a gang feud in that area.
Well, you know, I kind of right out there, I could go play ball, I could go to a shop, I could go buy food to eat, go to my people's house, go to my granny's house, who was stay my picnic there. And then that, everything me kind of going out here to fair while.
What do you intend to do with your life?
Back to school, if anything, back on a court out there, play ball. But other than that, I rather work, try to get a job, see the best of my life. I help my people in the same way too.
Fast forward to 7 years later, in January 2018, Stevens was shot for a second time. He was walking on Cemetery Road when a man crept up behind him and fired several shots, one of which caught him in his ankle. Stevens has now survived the third attempt on his life, with the latest shooting allegedly taking his sight and ability to walk. So from the looks of it, someone wants Stevens dead, but a family member says that they have no idea why. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
In identifying a man whose body was fished out of the Hollover Creek this morning in Belize City. John Doe's body was discovered at around 8 o'clock behind Dreamlike City. The person has yet to be identified, and police have confirmed that no signs of violence were found on the body. He is of Hispanic descent, and police say one of the distinguishing marks is a tattoo on the left arm. The body awaits a post-mortem examination. Unconfirmed reports reaching our news desk this evening is that there was a shootout in Dangriga this afternoon. Reliable sources tell News 5 that 5 men reportedly dressed in blue opened fire on a group of men inside a boat. We understand that the incident occurred at a pier in the Harlem area of town. It is unclear at the moment whether there were any injuries as a result of gunfire. Of note, however, is that in the general vicinity where 20-year-old Jarvis Wagner was slain on Monday evening in front of his grandmother's place of business on Commerce Street, there has been no indication from police that the incidents are related. In an unprecedented move, Director of Public Prosecutions Sherilyn Vidal, in her capacity as President of the Bar Association, has lodged a claim against Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin following her removal as a member of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. On October 22nd, attorney Andrew Marszalek filed a claim on Vidal's behalf in which he is challenging her exclusion from the JLSC. By law, the commission is made up of the Chief Justice, who presides as chairman. It is also comprised of the chair of the Public Services Commission, the president of the Bar Association, as well as the Solicitor General. The contention is that in the absence of the bar representative, the appointments of other judicial officers have been questionable, since it appears that there is an incestuous relationship between the executive and the judiciary. Earlier today, News 5 spoke with attorney Andrew Marszalek.
The claim concerns the right of the president of the bar to be a member of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. The Judicial and Legal Services Commission is a commission charged by the Constitution with responsibility to make and govern judicial appointments. We're talking high court judges, we're talking magistrates, we're talking registry staff. All of those appointments come under the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, even the DPP's appointment. Yes. What the Constitution provides that the commission is to comprise of the Chief Justice, who also sits as chairman, the chairman of the Public Services Commission, the Solicitor General, and the president of the bar. So it's a four-person commission. Well, since about a year and a half ago, after Ms. Sherilyn Vidal became president of the bar, the chairman took issue with her sitting on the commission, because he took the view that as director of public prosecution, she was a public officer and was disqualified from sitting from the commission. We've reviewed the legal position and find that argument simply untenable. And so we've challenged, since a year and a half ago, he has refused to let her sit in the meetings. They invited her to the first meeting and then asked her to withdraw when after some time, they told her she wasn't qualified. An opinion was later had from the Solicitor General, who's also a member of the committee, to support the view that she's disqualified. So since that time, the bar hasn't had any representation on these judicial appointments, which are handled by the commission.
Recent appointments, according to Marszalek, have seen an obvious increase in the number of judicial officers from the Caribbean taking up posts in Belize. This, he says, is deliberate. But with a claim against the presiding judge of the Supreme Court languishing within the system, who will the case be assigned to, and how does that process work? That's what we sought to find out in our sit-down with the bar's attorney.
From my own perspective, as a member of the bar and a practitioner for the last 25 years, we've noticed, and it's readily noticeable, that appointments have been dominated by people with Afro-Caribbean connections, on the one hand, and on the other hand, by friends and acquaintances of ministers of government. The idea behind establishing a commission was to have an independent body making these decisions. The presence of the bar lends an independent voice and a unique perspective to these types of decisions. The president collectively represents all the lawyers in the country who are members of the bar, and they bring their views to bear on these things. When you take that view out of the equation, you can easily see how decisions can be skewed. And I think they have been.
Who does this complaint or this claim go before? And how does that part of it work?
Well, that's interesting, because it's been filed since the 22nd October 2019. And despite repeated requests, I can't seem to get it back. I'm hoping that it was not put before the Chief Justice for him to decide which of his judges get to decide the claim.
Because then that would be a conflict of interest if he is one of the persons named in the claim, correct?
Well, he's taken an official position on it. The functioning of these bodies, these independent constitutional commissions, are really critical to the proper functioning of the judicial system as envisaged by the commission, by the Constitution. When we see these institutions being undermined in such a significant way, and I mean that because when you take away the voice of our lawyers in questions that go before the commission, what we get are really the voices of public servants dominating the issues. And I'm not so sure that that works for us.
Back in November of 2016, a young girl was shot on Raccoon Street Extension, Belize City. Police soon picked up Anthony Crawford and charged him with use of deadly means of harm with intent to cause grievous harm. At the time of the incident, the girl was only 13 years old. Fortunately, the bullet grazed her on the cheek and she was able to survive the shooting, which occurred when she was at her neighbor's yard. Today, a jury of 5 females and 3 males unanimously returned a guilty verdict after deliberating for 3.5 hours. The day following the shooting, police charged Crawford after Shania Wiley was able to identify him as the shooter. The case was adjourned to November 29th when Justice Colin Williams is expected to hear mitigation pleas. On the occasion of International Children's Day, a special sitting of the House was convened in which young students assumed the roles of parliamentarians, all 31 members of the House. The sitting on Wednesday gave the youth the opportunity to be heard on the issues that are critical to their development as contained in the Convention on the Rights of the Child, to which Belize is a signatory. On Wednesday, there was focus on education and health, and in the following story, Hipólito Novello looks at the issue of child labor.
The Children's Parliament on Wednesday touched on a number of issues still affecting children countrywide today. These young parliamentarians took the seat where elected policymakers would sit during a House sitting. They were tasked in representing the children of Belize and bringing to the forefront issues in areas such as education, health and safety and protection. On the topic of child labor, this young parliamentarian pointed out about 76% of working children live in rural areas.
More than a quarter of employed children work over 45 hours per week. Almost a quarter of these children that are employed live in Kaya, and 23% live in Corozal. About 4% of children are both working and attending school, Mr. Speaker. Their academic performance is affected by child labor very much. Furthermore, they become vulnerable to pedophiles and others who want to harm, as my fellow colleague from Orange Walk East said. They become vulnerable when they're out trying to sell their merchandise in the community, sir.
The scenario that was described is real and continues to occur to this day. Many of us have seen children working on the streets exposed to predators, but those predators are sometimes found in the houses.
And we have seen too often, too many cases of child abuse and their impact in our country in the news. Take the case, Mr. Speaker, reported in December 14, 2015, Channel 5 newscast of the 17-year-old who sexually assaulted his 3 young relatives. Or take the case, Mr. Speaker, reported in the Amandala newspaper in February 2014 of the 15-year-old boy who sexually assaulted his 3-year-old neighbor. And very recently reported on Love FM in October 2019, the case of the 14-year-old who sexually abused a 7-year-old. I have no doubt, Mr. Speaker, that these minors who committed these terrible acts were themselves abused. These heart-wrenching cases of child abuse then, Mr. Speaker, speak to the graphic way in which child abuse negatively impacts the victim, the abusers, and again, in the process, causes the country to lose the future scientists, entrepreneurs, athletes, educators, actors.
The Children's Parliament was a call by the children of Belize to the government to enhance the enforcement of the right of a child, as was promised when Belize ratified the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of a Child 30 years ago.
Mr. Speaker, Article 6, Section 1 and 2 of the CRC states that all children have the right to life and that the government should ensure that all children survive and develop healthy. Also, Article 3 states that all organizations concerned with children should work towards what is best for each child. However, studies from UNICEF show that only 8% of the world's children are fully protected by children's rights. There are numerous crimes occurring in our tiny country. In Belize City alone, this year, Southside recorded 24 murders and Northside with 15 murders in months of January leading up to October. As my colleague mentioned a moment ago, whenever a crime occurs, police officers pick on those that fit their criteria based on their appearance or neighborhood history. This is racial profiling and being stereotypical, Mr. Speaker.
In other words, those who are entrusted to uphold the law break it.
We should feel secure in the presence of our police officers, and not the fear of being injured or our rights being infringed by the very same people who are meant to uphold them. Over the years, police officers have had violent encounters with the community, where they have aggressively gone into neighborhoods to seek out those who are allegedly criminals in an unacceptable and inhumane manner. Do you think it is right, Madam Speaker, for our children to witness and to be exposed to these traumatic events taking place between parents, relatives, friends, and our very own police officers? Instead of breaking the chains of violence, these repeated negative behaviors by some police officers have resulted in our youths losing the trust and confidence in those in authority.
Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
Coming up, BTL reports increased gross revenue but a drop in net revenue. The annual general meeting of BTL took place on Thursday night at the Biltmore Plaza, Belize City. The utility had a record year in terms of gross revenues, which surpassed the 2018 figures by $6 million due to largely the expansion of the fiber-to-house network. On the downside, shareholders learned that net revenue went down to $17 million. That's a 24% decrease. So what's ahead for BTL? The future is in digital revenue streams, says the CEO. Here is Hipólito Novello with a report.
At the 13th annual BTL General Meeting, shareholders were informed that for fiscal year 2018-2019, the company grossed $165 million in revenue, an increase of $6 million, and reportedly the largest gross revenue in its history.
This rapid expansion of the company's revenues is in large part due to the successful deployment of our fiber-to-the-home network and the launch of our fixed broadband services offering Diginet. By the close of the year, we had some 30,000 subscribers on this network.
While the figures are attractive, BTL's true revenue is much less. At the end of the fiscal year, BTL's net revenue was $17 million, a 24% decrease. According to the company's full-year report, the expanded revenue growth was surpassed by increases in its operational costs of $12.3 million.
The two main reasons for the higher operating costs were, as the CEO would have indicated, the fact that we are running two networks. We continue to run our copper network and we continue to run our fiber-to-the-home network. The other reason would have been increasing purchases in bandwidth capacity to meet our subscribers' ever-increasing demand for data.
And in 2017, BTL realized that its outdated copper network could no longer support the company's improved services.
And so in 2017, the middle of 2017, we proceeded to start a fiber-to-the-home construction network. And we're happy to say that as of September 2019, we have now completed that project. Now, we are the foundation of whatever we want to do is built on that fiber-to-the-home network. There is nothing faster than that. There is nothing more modern than that. You have it here in Belize, and you can boast of that.
According to the CEO, Ivan Tesekum, the recently rebranded company covers about 90% of residential homes and businesses. Tesekum told shareholders that the telecommunication industry is going through a dynamic and challenging time. While predictions were made relating to the market conditions, no one could have predicted the depth and intensity at which the company now has to change. And that change will require much more than just state-of-the-art infrastructure.
The competition is not only local. The competition really is bigger than that. It is the big companies of the world, the multi-billion-dollar companies of the world that we are competing with. The Facebooks, the Instagrams, the WhatsApp of the world. That's our competition. And so we had to change our mindset. The acceleration of change is crazy. It's beyond belief. But that is our job, to ensure that your company is able to meet and address those market challenges. Knowing the fact that now we had new technology, we were branded to Digi. And if you look at the logo, it has the infinity sign. That means opportunities are endless. That's what this company is all about. We have realized that our people, our staff, they are the foundation on which we will be successful. No matter how much equipment you have, no matter the state of the art, the latest equipment you have, without our staff being leaders and being developed, capable, then that equipment cannot run itself.
And with the support of accompanied staff, ambitious strategic goals, and key infrastructure in place, BTL is going beyond your imagination towards a digital revenue stream.
We realize that we need to bring in new revenue streams. And these revenue streams will all be new digital revenue streams. We have to begin looking for revenue streams outside of what you would consider your core telecom revenues. So we now need to look at other business models, at other different ways of ensuring that the revenue stream remains constant.
Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
Recently appointed Chief Executive Officer for BTL, Ivan Tesekum, highlighted the point that over the past 10 years, BTL has invested more than $500 million. Tesekum says this was done to ensure the company's viability to be well poised for the future in the changing telecom industry. Tesekum says that the company expects to see an increase in revenue by the next fiscal year.
One of the things, though, for a shareholder standpoint, is that the dividends that were declared at 20.5 cents was similar to last year, so a return of 4.1%. In terms of what was declared as a percentage of net income, it was 59%. Last year was 45%. As well, in terms of where we're going, it's important to note all the investments that we have made. Part of that is to ensure the viability and the future of BTL. One of them is definitely for our customers to use more data, but on top of that, we have to begin looking at new services on which the fiber can be delivered. So when we speak of the Internet of Things, so home automation, e-health, e-tourism, the digital learning platform, Safe Cities, all of these things are new revenue streams that we need to now monetize the fiber network that we've delivered to 90% of the country.
Do you all expect that profits will rebound next year into the $20+ million range?
It will rebound not necessarily in this fiscal year, but in the other one to come, because right now we're another fiscal year. So by the time we begin moving customers over, by the end of not this fiscal but the next fiscal, we should see it. So it won't be necessarily in this fiscal, but we see it forward looking after that.
On page 34 of BTL's financial statement, there is an item listed as contingencies. It states that there is an ongoing audit by the General Sales Tax Department on the parent company, Belize Telemedia Limited, and its two subsidiary companies, namely Business Enterprises System Limited and BTL Digicel Limited. The audit stems after financial documents were leaked which show that BTL purportedly owes the government millions of dollars in back taxes. The company has rejected the assertion, and CEO Ivan Tesikum says that the management's opinion is that it is likely to incur additional tax liability resulting from the audit.
Well, the company maintains that we're still doing the audit. There has been no assessment, and at the end of the day that we have paid all our taxes. So that's the company's position.
But is it the true and accurate position that management genuinely does not feel it will have to pay that, knowing that it's really a decision not in your hands?
Well, like I said, the management, that's the management's with the auditors working on that, and yes, we do not owe that money. We've paid all our taxes, and the audit is still ongoing, and we're continuing to work with the authorities in that respect.
Belizeans chose Belize Heritage Plaza to be the name of the building that will occupy the site of the Paslo building. Earlier this year, some Belizeans protested renaming the site Paslo, and the Ministry of Culture responded by holding a competition to find a non-controversial and more fitting name. There were over 300 entries, and a pool of judges shortlisted it to 6. Albert Avila of the Downtown Rejuvenation Project shares more about the winning theme and the selection process.
The process that we had selected was to do a sort of an online poll. We would advertise that people could submit names, and to make it more interesting and to get more people involved, we decided to give prizes. $800 for first prize, $600 for second, and $400 for third prize. We did that, and we received 314 submissions. It would be very difficult to put 314 submissions on an online poll. So what we did, we created a selection committee, and we narrowed those names down to 6 names. And between October 15th and November 1st, I believe, we put that on our online poll, and we had gotten about 313 people had voted. And on November 1st, the winner out of that poll was Belize Heritage Plaza. Emancipation Plaza came in second, and Freedom Square came in third. So as of right now, the new name that the site that was once called Paslo will be the Belize Heritage Plaza. It was a good name because when we talk about heritage, Belize, the country of Belize is made up of 6, 7, 8 different cultures, ethnic groups, and they all have heritage. They all have a heritage. So that space now may not only be for one ethnic group. Belize City is Creole, and we have this Creole history and this Creole legacy. But with a name like Heritage, it can be for everybody. It could be Maya, it could be Garifuna, it could be Creole, Mennonite, Chinese, Arab, Lebanese, for anybody. You have a heritage, this could be your place. And I think it's one of the best names that could have been chosen.
The winning submission was made by police officer Eddie Middleton. He took home $800 for his winning name. The new two-story building will host a tourist welcome center and vendor booths on the first floor with offices, a cafe on the second, and a parking area to the rear. The Belize Heritage Plaza is expected to be completed in early 2020. The government asserts tonight that it has no agreement with the United States as a safe third country. The statement from the government was prompted by an international news article stating that the Trump administration has identified Belize as a safe third country for immigrants trying to reach the U.S. According to the article, the immigrants will remain in a safe third country for the duration of the processing of their asylum requests. The government says that the ministry with responsibility for immigration and refugees and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have no knowledge of any agreement for Belize to serve as a safe third country for migrants seeking asylum in the United States, or of ongoing or concluded conversations in this regard. The release further states that the government has consulted the International Organization for Migration Belize office, which also confirms that it has no knowledge of any such arrangement. Earlier this week, it was reported in the international media that 2 Honduran nationals were to be taken to Petén, Guatemala, which has signed up as a safe third country. And after the break, the Raspberry Pi Jam competition takes place, from an automated chicken coop control system to a terabyte.
It's November again, and time for Brothers Summit's monumental 36th anniversary sale.
High schools from across the country gathered in Belize City today where students participated in a competition for young innovators. The goal is to use a miniature computer platform to perform various innovative IT functions. The students were tasked to come up with an innovative project based on the theme, Inspiring Solutions to Global Challenges Through Innovation and Challenges. We stopped in at today's showcase to check out some of the creative projects the students have come up with. Reporter Andrea Polanco tells us more about the competition.
11 high schools participated in this year's Raspberry Pi Jam. It is an annual competition that the Public Utilities Commission hosts to encourage innovation and technology among students. This year, the students are using the Raspberry Pi to come up with solutions to problems we face in Belize. The Raspberry Pi is a microcomputer platform which can be plugged into a computer monitor or TV and can execute a number of functions. The small device enables people of all ages to use computers, learn how to program, and can be used to interact with the outside world. The PUC has been championing its use among students for the past few years.
The reason we tried to focus on the team this year is that we were hoping that a business person or anyone from the community would come and view one of the projects and see an initial use for it in their everyday lives. That way the students can go ahead to the point of patenting their project and having it sold to the institution or other institutions, which would thereby help them and their IT clubs. We have had some quite impressive projects throughout the years, and this year is no different. We have a project in regards to the Sargassum issue that we have. One of the schools has entered. Another one in regards to a mosquito infestation, and that pertains to the dengue issue that we have as a country, amongst others.
For the past 2 months, the students have been working on their creative projects. Mopan Technical High School, an agriculture and technical-based school, use the technology to try to find a solution to a problem they face. Randy Elbenio explains how they use the Raspberry Pi to create a project called Automated Chicken Coop Control System.
If the temperature goes over, that a system right there will notify the Raspberry Pi to turn on a specific light to heat them up, to get them back to their temperature they're meant to be. If it gets too cold, the Raspberry Pi will tell the fan to turn on to take them back to their certain point. This can be very profitable because chicks right now, if they're not kept in that cage, they will die. At Mopan Tech, we grow 100 chicks per class every 6 weeks. And with the temperature right now for Christmas, it gets too cold and a number of those chicks die. So we're losing profits as we grow. So if we perfect this and further develop, surely we can bring back that profit.
Belize High School created a project called Terror Byte. Tyler Godoy shares how they use the technology to come up with a solution for added border surveillance.
When we were thinking about problems, we realized that Belize has one main reoccurring problem, which is our dispute with Guatemala. So we thought about border security. So while thinking about border security, we decided that something that we could use without actually having our soldiers out there all the time would be creating a robot or having a camera. So we integrated both, and to make it more free to move around, we made it into the shape of a dog. So what it does, the camera has facial recognition, so it could scan people and it enters it into a database. After it enters it into the database, it will notify soldiers or whoever is on the other side that this person is here. It scans them if it's seen them before, and if it ever sees them again, it will notify them that it's the exact same person again. It's actually really practical. It's able to move around freely, and using the kit itself was not exactly expensive, so I'm pretty sure that we could manufacture it all here in Belize for a cheap price.
Charlene Dugal of the PUC says that the skills the participants acquire can be used in other areas of their lives, even in their future careers.
We are living in a technology-driven environment, and as the PUC, we believe that having the students given this exposure and the type of environment that we're living in, it will assist them in getting by daily. As you know, everything these days are getting automated, and technology is the thing to go with. And apart from that, the interest that these students have shared and seek into wanting to be a part of the JAM and their IT club, it helps them in their future endeavors.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
The first, second, and third place winners took home $5,000, $3,000, and $2,000 in IT equipment for their schools, respectively. They also each received a plaque. With recent news of Belize being removed from the European Union's list of non-cooperative jurisdictions, is the country doing enough to turn around its status? And what about funds received through EU grants? Were those affected by the blacklisting? On Thursday, Financial Secretary Joseph Waite responded to those questions, admitting that there is more work to be done for Belize to remain compliant with the EU's latest designation.
In relation to the EU blacklisting, in terms of any funding that would have been passed that we get from them, did that happen during that short period?
No. No, none at all. No effect. Well, you know, we're trying to comply. We're now off the blacklist. There's another more.
We're on the grey list.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we have to do more work. There'll be a meeting of the House shortly with some amendments to the bills on the tax matters. But even while we were on the court blacklist, there was no defensive measures, as they call it. There was no penalties to Belize, and I don't think the European Union has itself determined what is a consistent set of measures.
The Statistical Institute of Belize continues to issue quarterly releases on the country's economic performance. While GDP estimates for the third quarter will be shared during SIB's final press conference for the year on November 27th, Financial Secretary Joseph Waite forewarned on Thursday that revenue will be adversely impacted as a result of the drought that Belize experienced recently.
The economy, of course, we would like to see more growth. I mean, that is, you know, we realize the drought has set us back. That will have a revenue impact. We're still trying to maintain within budget, trying to generate the surpluses that we need to pay down our debt. The debt is stable. It's still at around 92% of GDP. We're borrowing only on concessional basis, and we're trying to fashion the spending and the budget to remain within these, to generate enough surplus so that we can pay down our debt.
When we come back, the BDF proves it is a force to be reckoned with and takes home the Best Warrior title. After 3 days of grueling competition, the Belize Defense Force proved that they are a force to reckon. A group of 8 soldiers broke records to take home for the first time the title of Best Warrior, defeating the Belize Coast Guard in almost every challenge in the Best Warrior competition. The victory was long in coming, so it was a bittersweet moment for the soldiers who, while exhausted, savored the moment. Here is News 5's Dwayne Moody.
Everything here is motivation and dedication again. You understand? The teamwork we guys put in, as you can see, the effort we put in. But we won't say much because the evidence is here that from the first day we were here, we came in first till now. Again, I have to say I cannot do it myself. I have to do it with the support of my team members. I believe they could try again next year. Yeah. Because we will always be here to defend our title if God is willing.
The 1 Battalion Squad of the Belize Defense Force wins the 2019 Best Warrior competition hosted by the Belize Coast Guard. For the past 6 years, a unit from the Coast Guard would capture the title. But this year around, a group of 8 soldiers from the BDF came together with a mission at hand to dominate the competition and take home the coveted Best Warrior title. From the first challenge 3 days ago, the team has been leading the pack. On Thursday morning, there was a tie with the Sea-Sag team from the Coast Guard, but by afternoon, they were back in the lead by 10 points and continued extending the gap this morning, then overcame the Crucible obstacle course for the big win.
Well, my team, when they get up, they're willing to eat the road. We make when we start the march, we make a strategy where no one could get fatigued, and we have to look back for my members. They call it Crucible, but the way I don't think my guys, they will take it as Crucible. They will take it as piece of the cake, normal. We'll eat the chain.
At the end of the shooting challenge this morning, the SEALs from the Coast Guard, better known as the Sea-Sag, remained in second place with a 20-point gap between the BDF team. But the Crucible is on the Coast Guard's turf, so Petty Officer Class 3 Ardel Avila was optimistic that there still is a possibility to snag the title.
It's a lot of mental now. It's been 2 long days so far. So now it's just a mental focus for the guys. I mean, it's something that we have trained for. We have won it already. So now it's just that mental focus from each and every single individual on the team. And a lot of weight on the team leader, which is me, to keep my guys composed to win the next event so that we can become victorious at the end of the day. It's our home turf. Yesterday the BDF did good yesterday because they had the home advantage, because the obstacle that we did yesterday was held at the Price Barracks. This evening we had the final event, which is going to be held on the Coast Guard grounds. I mean, not to boast, but going into our home grounds, nothing is going to be given to the BDF. I mean, they will have to work for what they want.
And work they did. The BDF team strategized their attack on every challenge they encountered. The toughest of them all, the Crucible, is exactly what it means. Commander Gregory Sobrani says it pushes the men to their limits.
One of the things that the BDF did this year, which was a smart thing, they realized from last year that swim was one of their weaker elements. So they did some swim training and they improved tremendously in that category. And as we saw this morning, they really were motivated. They were hungry for it, and they displayed a high level of teamwork. And hence they came in first for the march this morning, in this morning's event. After this march and shoot, you're extremely fatigued. Carrying all that weight for 9 miles really puts a toll on the body, because you have full gear, it's full march in order. So you don't have a lot of time to rest and recover for the Crucible. And the Crucible is exactly what it is. It's almost like you're being crucified. We have a chain that is 300 pounds that you must carry. As I mentioned yesterday, those huge tires. So it takes a lot out of you. And you must finish by negotiating that obstacle course. As I said, by then, your arms are fatigued, your legs are burning. So it really takes great intestinal fortitude. But you know something? From day one, we've said this is what the security forces for the country of Belize is all about. We must be able to endure and push beyond the average threshold of pain.
Going into 2020, Sabranis says that the intent is to extend the competition to include other entities who have expressed interest in participating in the Best Warrior competition.
Hopefully, next year we can get the Commissioner of Police to get the police involved and be a part of this event as well. I know the fire chief and his staff wants to compete. They want to be a part of what is happening here, and we will make room and facilitate that request. We definitely want to engage the Mexican Navy. They are great partners of ours. They have expressed interest to be a part of this competition as well. We saw BATSUB this year as the officiating staff. They have also expressed interest in this competition. So hopefully next year we can see this competition expand to other entities and make it more challenging and competitive.
One battalion motivation check!
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
All roads lead to Sugar City on Sunday, where the 9th annual Tacos Fest is set to go down at the Central Park in Orange Walk Town. Vendors from across the country are invited to participate in a culinary event that showcases the best preparation of corn and flour tortillas, freshly diced vegetables, and a variety of meat choices. The festival, according to organizer Dylan Jones, promises music and dance and many other competitions.
This year we're happy to say that it's the 9th year into Tacos Festival. We have moved the location for this year because of the condition of the river. We used to do it by the Banquita Source of Culture, but because of the condition of the river, which I must say is much better today, we don't want to take a chance and take it down there, so we're moving it to this Orange Walk Central Park, which is smack down the middle of town. And I believe it's a good move because over the years, people have been telling us that the fest has grown, the space has gone left the space long time.
Now, Belizeans on a whole enjoy Orange Walk tacos. Is that going to be the only feature, or are there other vendors from across the country who are open to participate in this event?
We open Tacos Fest to anybody who wants to sell tacos. It's tacos on that day, so you won't find any other food there for that day.
Every year it gets better, right? We look forward for the Tacos Fest because of our customers. Every year they are there looking forward to find us. Last 2 years I was the winner for first place. Second, this past year I came in second. And like Delon Jones says, it is not a competition, but if the prize is there, we are more welcome to receive it, right? The tacos place that we have is for my mother-in-law. She has approximately from 15 to 20 years selling tacos. Now we are out there representing her. She stays at home, prepares the meat, and we sell it, right? So it's we've been here for years, and people know us very well. And as I mentioned to you, every year Tacos Fest gets bigger and better, and we are always there participating and serving our customers.
Coming up after the break, Belize International Film Market is launched.
global perspective.
In early November, the Belize Tourism Board released its mid-year insight into tourism performance for the Jewel. And while there are some ups and downs, the industry continues to boom. Overnight stays and the cruise tourism industry continue to be a driving force behind the record numbers over the years. And while for the past 3 consecutive years there have been double-digit increases, the projection is that the figures might be lower this year. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports on the tourism trends.
The Belize Tourism Board has partnered with the Statistical Institute of Belize and the Central Bank to get a better understanding of tourist experience and what travelers, both local and international, are looking for when they visit the country. The mid-year trend for 2019 gives a better idea of tourist visitor profile, including their length of stay and what piques their interests in the Jewel.
The tourism industry did experience 3 consecutive years of double-digit growth. This year, for the past few months, we have seen some slowdown, but we do anticipate growth nonetheless within the industry come the year's end. It's not going to be as large as what we've seen in the past 3 years, but the trends that we're seeing locally are also being experienced across the region. Some of the factors that have affected the industry include the 737 MAX planes that were taken off the market, sargassum, the issues with the UK and Brexit, the US economy, and as you know, when there are economic issues, that tends to make travelers a little bit more conscious of how they're spending their disposable income.
Nevertheless, the statistics show that travelers are choosing Belize as a favorite destination to visit. The United States continues to be the largest market for overnight arrivals to the country and the region. But Director of Marketing and Industry Relations, Mr. Michael, says that they are looking to tap into other markets.
Overnight arrivals continues to grow, and that's due in large part to a lot of the efforts that we've been making internationally, working with our international agencies in the US, in Mexico, South America, in Europe. So we're also looking at Canada, which has a lot of growth potential. We have direct flights from WestJet and Air Canada that come in seasonally. We have a marketing agency in Mexico that we're working with. There's one in South America that's working with 5 core countries.
The cruise tourism industry continues to grow and is a big contributor to the industry's success. But is the country able to accommodate the influx of additional carriers flying here?
There is some work currently being done at the airport to expand not only the arrivals area, but the departure, because as you said, we constantly have new flights entering the market. And I think being able to accommodate the tourists as well into the overnight sector, there are a lot of new developments that are taking place in terms of additional capacity to house overnight tourists across the country.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The Belize Film Commission is officially launching the Belize International Film Market and Belize-based studio complex with Saba Industries. The announcement was made today via a press release where the Commission says that along with global commerce, digital entertainment and media divisions for the Georgia Department of Economic Development and Saba Industries, they are looking to develop content and networking as well as professional development and training workshops. But for the Belize International Market to function, it needs exhibitors, producers, writers, and other key persons in the visual arts industry. Earlier today, News 5 spoke with Film Commissioner Nigel Miguel.
The main objective of the market is to provide access to those writers, to those producers, if you're talking about the local individuals, that they get to interact with producers, writers from abroad. The main objective of the market is to give them access and to give new products or projects that haven't been done a way so that they can go through the process of a pitch meeting. What does it actually take to sell your idea? And once we sell your idea, you go into production. And once you produce it, you have a finished project. How do you get it to the international market? the film market will allow local producers, local filmmakers to have that experience. Belize-centric content. The markets that we will be selling to or exporting to, yes, it's basically anything outside of the U.S., that 90% of the underserved market. So that's where we will be different from most of the other film markets around the world. More than anything, it's just the next step. If we are truly going to be players on the international market, which I believe that we have the talent here to do, but it's raw talent we need to refine. So one of the major things that we're going to do with the studio is an exchange of knowledge, teaching. We want to have all of the folks involved in the local media houses send their people to get trained. This will be a studio for international projects, of course, but part of the thing that we're here to do is to build the local film industry. So when these projects come in from outside, major productions, we will be able to use locals to work behind the scenes, to be in front of the camera.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Charlie Hutchinson. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, have a happy and safe weekend. Good night.